art. When it comes to hobbies, people from all walks of life find themselves being drawn to create artwork of their own. More specifically, drawing. Not only can it be a fulfilling way to express yourself, you can do it at any time and anywhere. But as many world-renowned artists have once said, art is hard. But that doesn't mean it isn't worth trying out. So before you think about picking up a pen, here is what you need to know about drawing. Number 1. It doesn't matter what you use. When you think about drawing, what exactly do you imagine holding in your hand? Is it a traditional ballpoint pen? A collection of markers? Or maybe it's a number 2 pencil? Or maybe even something completely different? Whatever it is, there is no medium that you could go wrong with. Experiment with what you have on hand, and see what works best for you before you decide to cash in on overpriced pencils. You might be surprised by what you like to use the most. Number 2. Art doesn't have to be serious. Once you've decided what you want to use, the next part is figuring out what to draw. Pretentious people might try to tell you that real art has to be something sophisticated like mountainscapes or realistic portraits. And if that's what you want to draw, great! But don't feel obligated to stick to those subjects if they're not what you're interested in. Is there a video game you've become obsessed with lately? You might be interested in channeling that obsession into some fan art. Got a fascination with nature? Go outside, pick something up off the ground, and practice tracing out the different shapes. Or maybe you just really appreciate the human body. Pull up an incognito tab and find some nude figures to draw from. Though maybe you should double check the room before you get too invested there, Michelangelo. It doesn't matter what you draw or how many times you may choose to draw it. As long as you're having fun with whatever your subject may be, then you're making real art, and no one can take that away from you. Number 3. Take your time learning different techniques. Depending on your preferences, there's lots of different aspects for somebody to learn. There's anatomy, color theory, shading, lighting, cross-hatching, blending,
contour lines, feathering, undertones,
layers,
rubber use, and three-quarters.
So unless you want to end up like this, focus only on a couple techniques at a time and work at your own pace. For example, let's say you're interested in drawing people. You might decide to start off by looking at different proportion guides and getting comfortable drawing figures in simple poses. Once you're comfortable with that, maybe then you can try your hand at some more complex poses, or focus on creating better faces, or doing something different like color. It's not a race, so space out your workload and don't work on anything you aren't ready to handle. Number 4. Yes, you do need to use references. Regardless of your subject, it never hurts to have a reference image whenever you start a new piece. Having a couple pictures handy to study from can help you spot details you might otherwise overlook. Never underestimate how hard it is to draw something until you try to do it from memory. If you ever find yourself stuck on what something looks like a style of shirt or how a certain lighting angle creates shadows, try Googling it and look through the results for something that works. Then you can eyeball it or practice tracing it a couple of times to get the hang of it. Please don't trace artwork for any other reason than practice. There's also websites like Line of Action dedicated to collecting reference images for artists to use. Even stock images can be a good starting point. But if you can't find exactly what you're looking for, grab your camera and make your own references. Take pictures of whatever you can find nearby, or even recruit your friends if you need people. Number 5. Get help from other people. If you have a friend that's into art like you, don't be afraid to ask them for help. They can be a good source of constructive feedback and even offer tips if you find yourself struggling. If you don't have any artistic friends, then consider turning to the internet's art communities. Artists on YouTube, DeviantArt, Tumblr, and plenty of other sites often post their own tutorials or answer questions for people who need guidance. While there's plenty of advice out there, everyone is going to have their different opinions and styles. Be sure that whenever you do take advice, that it's only coming from people who actually want to see you improve. Number 6. There's nothing wrong with taking breaks. Creative burnout can be a real issue, and people can struggle to pull themselves out from it. So if you find yourself in a slump, don't be afraid to take a few days off from drawing and recharge. Play some video games, read a book, go on a walk, question your life decisions. Anything. You might even find yourself getting inspired because of something new you see. You're not any less of an artist if you don't draw every day. Come back to it whenever you're ready, and maybe do a few little practice sketches before diving into something ambitious again. And finally, number 7, save all of your old drawings. Because no matter how bad some of your old pieces might look, every piece of art is special and a reminder of how far you've come. If you ever feel like you've hit a rut, sometimes it's nice to look back and remember that not too long ago, you would have been impressed by yourself now.